Good morning everyone, let's start today's analysis. We're on EU, we're on the daily chart. We have EU on the top, DXY on the bottom. So what's the daily chart showing us? Yesterday we can see we had a bearish day, quite a large bearish engulfing, meaning we possibly met some sort of lower time frame resistance point, right? We took some buy side liquidity that previous day above these highs and made our way down. So we may continue our trend here. We were in a bearish trend, but we are still in that discount. So it's still possible we're going to have some more of a bullish pullback to a premium. I don't think there's any clear direction here from the daily. If we look at DXY, I think DXY does look more bearish. So although we have made that lower high here with that SMC divergence, so we do look a bit weak, right? Having that bearish move from there, DXY has made that sort of internal lower low, right? So even though it had that bullish day yesterday, we'll see what it says more on a lower time frame. It is the first week of the month, it's December, things are cooling down, but first week of the month there's a lot of high impact news announcements, so we'll see which way price shakes out. So I'm going to be careful with price, but as I said, we do look a bit bearish here on DXY, so I'm not too sure if that pullback move is over or not. We're going to have to use the lower time frame structures and stuff to just see our direction a bit more, be a bit more patient in my opinion. So now today's candle, we're starting off bullish-ish, right? We had a down move, we're coming back a bit bullish. We'll see what's going on in the lower time frame, but we haven't taken any obvious buy side or sell side liquidity points. Previous daily low, previous daily high, still intact. I think that's enough with the daily, right? Overall picture, we're still within a discount. We seem to have rejected something around this area here with a bearish momentum yesterday. So let's go down to the 4 hour. Let's see what that looks like. So this is our 4 hour picture here. Now I do still think the structure is on the bearish side, because I think this was our external bearish leg, pulled back to, rejected this high, taking buy side liquidity. We broke down internal breaker structure right below this low. Now it could just be a complex pullback, which is why I'm saying we may still continue bullish, but we have broken down that structure after taking that buy side liquidity. We've come down to this 4 hour order block here. We have swept below it, taking some sell side liquidity here, but this area may still hold as a support, right? Even if it's just a temporary pullback to this 4 hour PY here. But let me continue with this zone. We swept below it and ultimately closed up still within that order block there, right? So a nice low test candle sweep, which may give us a bullish move from this area here. So overall, I think structure is bearish, but I do want to see more from price before I determine if we're going to continue bearish or not, right? So I have this 4 hour order block with imbalance drawn out just above price here. So I think we may hold this as support after this bearish move, and then we're going to pull back to some kind of premium of this leg here. So we've got this 4 hour order block that once price reaches there, I'm going to see what happens, see if price breaks down further again. Because for me, that would then make this a weak low, and it would more confirm we're going to continue that bearish order flow. So this may be temporary pullback, or it may be a support that goes on to break a high. We'll see what happens. But in terms of my bias for today, I think just looking at EU so far, coming from this area, looking at we've taken sell side liquidity and may hold this as support with a draw on price above. My bias for today may be longs, right? Some temporary longs up into this zone here to see what price does. That's the indication I'm getting from this 4 hour, and I think this would look great for sells, you know, once we break down from there, if that's what price does. So I hope that's clear. Any questions, just let me know in the comments. So to summarize the 4 hour, possible support here may push us bullish towards this possible resistance here as a draw on price, right? Then we can look to see from what price does from here and this point. Now let's go down to the 1 hour. Let's see what the 1 hour looks like. So analyzing EU here on the 1 hour, I do think the 1 hour more so agrees with a bearish structure and bias going forward, just because, as I mentioned yesterday, we was making these higher highs, higher lows, right? Swept that buy side liquidity, and then we made a lower high and broke down, making a lower low, breaking down below all of these lows. Of course, this is possible support zone here, but when we broke down, we left behind imbalances, 1 hour order block and a 4 hour order block above in the premium of this 1 hour leg here. We have sort of mini resistances even on the way, because we have a 1 hour order block here, we have some inducement there. Price may show some resistance around this point. My preference would be this point here to show resistance, obviously well into the premium, and having a 4-hour and 1-hour order block with imbalance in that same area. So I'll keep an eye out for how price reacts in this area here around the equilibrium. Right, we may just pull up into a bit of the premium there, but this would be my preferred zone. So as I said, I'd be a bit more patient with price just to see how it shakes out. Look for some more order flow and possible support down here once this candle closes. So I do want to see a bit more order flow today. I hope that's clear what I mean. I just want to see a couple high lows, high highs, or lower highs, lower lows, right, to give me a bit more of direction. The M15 is probably going to look now like it's starting to create some more bullish structure, because clearly we'll have that bearish leg there, we'll have that lower high, then higher low. So this would be weak around this zone here, and we have some bullish momentum, so we may go on to break that high, but we'll see that on the M15 anyway. Now if we are pulling back to the same zone here on DXY, where we have the 1-hour order block as well, where this 1-hour order block here is on EU, then of course DXY is going to be moving bearish, right? This is kind of like a nice trend line. We've started to create maybe a lower high here and may go on to break that internal structure as well. I think the 1 hour is sort of agreeing with the bias, right, of a pullback, because we are in that discount. We have started to look like now we're making early signs of producing internal higher highs to come back up toward this area. So again, the 1 hour is adding to my bias of bullish pullbacks up into more of a premium where this 4-hour order block is as well. So as price is getting a bit harder to read this time of the year, and in December, first week where we have so many news announcements. So yeah, I'm going to be waiting for order flow, right? My narrative, however, currently and bias is leading me towards wanting to look for some bullish pullbacks up into this zone here. So that's what I'm going to go with for today, but I'll probably be waiting for some sort of confirmations on those. So let's go down to the M15. Let's see what some trades for today may look like. On the M15 here, as we can see, we are getting those signs of now a break of structure to the upside, right? We have our external bearish legs here, right? Made this lower high, higher low, but this internal range here this morning at London Open, you can see we've now broken and closed above these highs quite clearly now, making that internal high, making this high weak in my opinion as well on the hourly and even the M15. So we're at least likely to come for this high. I know we have possible resistance here as well on the 1 hour. So what I would be looking for is maybe for price to come back, mitigate this area here. Whatever it's going to do with this area, I don't think it looks great for me to get in on a trade here. So preferably, even if it comes down and takes some sell side liquidity below these lows, that would also be just as good. But if it respects this area, then I would look for also the order flow to come into the market anyway, come up, break above this high after leaving behind order block with imbalance, preferably after taking the sell side liquidity below these lows here if it does, and then I'd look for more of a pullback sort of entry if price looks right at the time for this order block formed here after this second break of structure, to then maybe trade long up into that premium zone there. So another break of structure above here, possible corrective pullback, leaving inducement above here, above our order block with imbalance right there, where you could set your order stop loss below the low if it looks appropriate at the time. Depends what price does around here, or if anything maybe below that low or that low. So we'll see what that does, whatever looks more appropriate when it happens, or if it happens, of course. So this is the sort of continuation play I would look for, right? We've made those early breaks already today. I don't want to just set my order here just yet. I would prefer a little sweep of liquidity, but we'll see. And then I'll wait for that second break of structure to come down and happen here and pull back to give me a sort of confirmation on our direction. As I said, I'll be moving a bit cautiously with EU this time of year as well. So I hope that was clear. Let's move on to GJ, see what that looks like. So GJ here now on the daily. You can see yesterday we played out another bearish day, right? Moving below these lows here and even slightly into this daily imbalance there. So we've now mitigated this whole trend line here, right? Definitely taken some sell side liquidity on the lower time frames below this daily low here as well, and we pulled back somewhat from there. Plenty of sell side liquidity taken, Daily is bearish. We're going to be very much within a discount of this leg here. So I think that's all the daily's really telling us today. We are reacting very bullish so far, we can clearly see. So we may be seeking out some buy side liquidity, maybe seeking out further pullback. We've left behind imbalances and POIs on the way down. So we'll see what happens. We may be due a pullback to look for. So let's go down to the 4 hour. Let's see what that looks like. So just zoom that for a moment, just so you can see all of the lows that we have taken now. Sell side liquidity below this low here most recently. You can see that clear bearish structure we've got going on here, right, with these lower highs, lower lows, lower high, lower lows, right, if you want to read these internal legs here. So now zooming into this recent price action. We left behind our large imbalance and order block up here. So I do still see this as possible draw on price, though yesterday we swept some buy side liquidity and eventually broke below our previous weekly low and eventually taking some historical low here. Now from this low, as you can see, we've been bullish, pulling back, right, making small bullish candles overnight into today, and then since London, I believe maybe Asia as well, we're making a large bullish move here for the last over 2 hours now. So I drew out this 4 hour imbalance line here because I see it as possible resistance, right? Because within this leg here on the 4 hour, there's no other clear POIs of imbalance. So drew out the POI. We'll see if we respect it and close below it. Though at the moment, as you can see, we've got a lot of bullish momentum. So it's not being respected just yet. And we have above this draw on price still. So this may have just been a more complex leg that we're going to pull back into this premium. So we'll keep an eye out for that. After all this sell side liquidity, we may need some buy side liquidity highs, of course, as well, right? So the 4 hour structure looks bearish. We're in a possible zone of resistance. So even though I did say we look to be possibly in the opportunity for pullbacks, I'll be cautious of this area here. I need to see what price is going to do around this zone here where we have possible resistance. I don't want to trade right into a 4 hour resistance area. So I will be patient and we'll need to look at the lower time frame. So let's see what the 1 hour looks like for a bias. So on the 1 hour, we have a bit more of a clearer bearish leg. As we know, took that buy side liquidity, didn't break down immediately from there, made another lower high and broke down with a lot of momentum. Now prices pulled back fairly correctively overnight, but then into this London open, we seem to have gotten a lot of bullish momentum here. So we've blasted into the 4 hour imbalance, and we've also above that zone a 1 hour order block. So I do see this as a good point of resistance. We do have that imbalance and order block above. Price may be drawn more into that area, but in order to mitigate my risk, I will be waiting to see how we treat this zone here and maybe wait for this zone here and look for some shorts. If we break down from this area here, my bias is probably more leaning towards going short. Right, we'll have a nice corrective lower time frame trend line most likely here below these lows that we could take advantage of. The negative would just be, you know, we've got this high time frame POI just above us, but bearish leg, bearish structure, high time frame resistance POIs, and then if the lower time frame starts to break down, I can't argue with that. That would be my narrative. Okay, so let's go down to the M15. Let's see what that looks like for possible trades today, with my bias being looking for shorts. Now we're possibly into resistance. All right, so this resistance zone here, even on the M15, there's actually an old M15 order block as well. So price is mitigating that now. Of course, we shot up into it with quite a lot of momentum, but price is starting to stall a little. So we'll see how that goes. I think what I would want to look for some shorts is for price to create some structure here now, right? Of course, we could break down and break below these lows, but that's obvious. So assuming we actually stay above in this area and create structure, I may look for something like this, you know, price to come around, maybe create a low around this zone here, pull up, possibly take some buy side liquidity again, and then break down, right? Break down below this low here as a breaker structure, leaving behind an order block with imbalance from that momentum, from that buy side liquidity sponsorship, from this confluence zone here, and then it can pull back to our M15 order block to then go short, targeting these trend lines, targeting this week low on a higher time frame. Order block here, possible internal buy side liquidity sweep if we create some structure around this zone here, break of structure below the possible structure we create somewhere here. Of course, we'll have this order block there, but just following the confluences, we'd have to trade against that possible inducement around this zone here if we get a corrective pullback, and then we can set our order stop loss just above the high, targeting whatever you target. Mine be 3% back down towards this discount here. So I do think that looks good. Of course, like I said, we have some negatives, right? We have a POI on the higher time frame just above, but we are in that bearish trend. As I mentioned, we have all of this higher time frame confluence here as resistance. We may yet still close as a nice high test on the 4 hour, and then if price creates a structure and breaks down, then that's it. We may even take some internal buy side liquidity, as I said, above the highs that we create. I hope that was clear. I hope you gained value from that. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.